Alright, I'm here with Mr. Morris today. We're going to talk about his airplane. We're going to talk about some principles of flight, and Mr. Morris has been flying most of his adult life, so I'll just turn over to Mr. Morris here and we'll answer some questions about the airplane.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Doug Swinemer came out today to talk to me about this biplane. Anyway, this is a Boeing Stearman, and Boeing built about 10,500 in the early 1939 to 1942. After the war, they were used for crop dusters, air show planes when they were decommissioned, and my friends Robert Clark, Gerald Morse, Peter Rouleau, and myself decided that we would try to rebuild an airplane, and we settled on the Stearman design. We bought a couple of wrecked Stearmans. They were used in a spruce bloodworm spray program in northern Ontario, and they crashed in the woods up there for various reasons. So we purchased two wrecks and we started from there. The wings are made of wood. The center section is made out of wood. It's built much the same as you would build a model airplane. If you build a flying model airplane, the basic construction is very similar. This is just bigger, stronger. Sitka spruce is the wood that's used to build the wings, wing ribs, wing spars. The engine is a radial engine, and this is a Continental W670. Develops 220 horsepower. So that's just kind of a basic, gives you a little basic idea of the development of the aircraft and what it was used for. Today, there are still crop dusters down in the southern part of the United States that use these airplanes. They're spraying cotton and corn, various agricultural commodities. So it's still an aircraft that's very popular, and it's in high demand. In the air shows applications, they usually have a wing walker, a young lady, and she stands up on the top of the wing. She's supported by a little backrest, and of course she's got a safety harness on in case she slips off. But they put on a really death-defying daredevil show. So that just gives you an idea, basically, how they were used and what they're used for now. Now this is the so-called pilot's seat. You fly these aircraft from the rear seat, the rear cockpit. This is the control column. The seat belt is hooked around the control column just for to steady the elevator so they don't flip around. But the stick moves back and forth like this, and the elevators, if you want to tip over there to the wing, when you move the stick sideways, the elevators go up and down, and that's the way you bank the aircraft. That's one of the control features. Now the elevators, are you on the elevators now, Mr. Schweinewer? That's the way the elevators work. That gives you your nose up or nose down. And of course the rudder, can't really show you the rudder unless I get it. This is the flying helmet that you put on with the goggles, of course. Flight instruments. If you want to home right in on these for a minute. This is your airspeed. This is your altimeter. Engine RPMs over in that corner. turn and bank, G meter, oil pressure, oil temperature, climb and descent indicator, up, down, compass. Now, the front seat is where my friend Mr. Slimer rides. It has dual controls, same as the back. It can be flown from either seat, but generally, because of the additional flight instruments in the back seat, that's where the aircraft is flown from. This is your fuel gauge. There's a float, a cork up in the tank, rod sticks down from the cork, and the position of the bottom of that rod, which is marked in red, indicates how much fuel you have in your tank. This would be quarter full, half full, 3/4, and so on. This mirror here is, in the olden days when they flew these planes, there was no way to communicate the pilot to the passenger, and vice versa. So this mirror was installed. When you sit in the seat, your face will be mirrored in this mirror to the pilot in the back seat. Again, when the pilot in the back seat looks into the mirror, he'll see the face of the man in the front seat. So you can talk back and forth with hand signals, facial expressions, and so on. Fuel tank is up here in the top. There's the fuel, the cap for the fuel tank up there. They hold 50 gallons, and that's enough to fly about 4 hours. Yeah, there are basically 4 forces that influence the flight of an aircraft, and that is related to the fact that the wing can actually hold you up in the air. The aircraft, the propeller, creates the thrust. Propeller turning, it twists itself through the air just like a big, well, like a propeller on a boat through the water, or if you took a wood screw with a screwdriver and twisted it into the wood, it cranks itself in. The wood, the same as the propeller, cranks itself through the air. So that's your thrust. The wing is built in such a way that it creates lift in order to hold the weight of the aircraft up in the air. It's the way the wing is shaped. It's relatively flat on the bottom, and the upper surface of the wing is curved like so. The airflow, as the plane is flying into the air, the airflow is divided. Some of it goes underneath the wing, some goes up over the wing. As it goes up over the wing, it expands. If you can picture this, it gets thinner. It has to get thinner because it's going up over the top of the wing. As it gets thinner, the pressure is lower here. That's what gives you the lift. Now, to get this effect, or when you get this effect, you also have an adverse effect, which is called drag, because you get turbulence back here in the back of the wing, and of course, the whole structure of the aircraft, it's like if you're trying to push it into a heavy wind, you get a force that's trying to push it back, and that's called drag. And the other force that acts on an aircraft, of course, is gravity. It's pulling you down into the earth all the time. So those are the forces. The propeller pushing you, pulling you ahead, the wing creating the lift to lift you up, to keep you up, the drag that's trying to pull you back, and the gravity is trying to pull you down. These wires, these are what are called flying wires. If you'll notice, all the wing struts, they're not round, or they're not square. They're shaped like this with a streamlined shape, so that they won't get as much drag. The wind will go both sides. The wires are the same. Instead of being a round wire like your finger, they too are streamlined. They're thin. They're pointed. They're sharp in the front, sharp in the back. That's the reason for that. Create as little drag as you can. Parasite drag is what things like this is called. You don't want that. The advantage of a biplane, which that's the term they use, a biplane, which means two wings. You will generate twice as much lift because you've got two wings. You will have twice as much lift as you would if you took the top wing off and just had this bottom wing. This aircraft here would have to have probably twice as much horsepower, twice as big an engine in the front to drag it fast enough through the air to fly if it only had one wing. There's a few technical requirements that are necessary to keep track of when you're flying these airplanes, or when you're maintaining and keep them inspected and keep their registrations up. One thing that you have to have is it's called a logbook. Every flight, each flight you take is listed in the logbook. The date, the time, how many passengers. In this case here would be, there'd be 2 people in the plane, the weight of those people, the number of gallons of gas you have, the number of gallons of oil, and that logbook is the one that you'll keep all your life, as long as you have a flying license. So that at the end of your 20 or 30 year career, you will know, and anybody else will know, the Department of Transport or whoever, inspector, will know that those were the hours that you flew during your lifetime.
All right, everyone. On behalf of all the grade 6s at Westmount Elementary, I'd like to thank Mr. Morse for his explanations today. It's given us a lot of great insight into flight. So on behalf of all of you, I'm going to thank you, Mr. Morse.
Okay everyone, now strap on your seatbelt as we go on a short flight in the Stearman biplane. Now think about this as the airplane is taking off. Increased thrust increases the speed of the plane. This increases the speed of the air over the wing. This increases the lift that the wing is able to produce. Because there is more thrust and more lift, the other two forces of gravity and drag that keep the airplane on the ground are overcome, and the airplane takes to the sky. As we come in for a landing, Mr. Morse reduces the power in the engine. Because of this, the lift is also reduced, and can no longer overcome the force of drag and gravity. Slowly the plane descends. If you listen carefully, you can hear the air as it rushes over the wings. Another happy landing. Now let's talk about any questions you thought of during the video.